Welcome back everyone to another counter video, our last counter video and also the first video on the channel got some good reviews, so I just had to do another one. Thank you all for the feedback. I've read each and every one of them, so we'll keep the same format as we did in the last video and we'll just have the text at the bottom of the screen this time. These counter videos are simply quick in-depth guides for casual players like myself to help know what exactly our matchup is and how we can play against it, and to hopefully give you plenty of options against characters that may seem hard to fight against. Before we get into it, if this is your first time on the channel and you find anything in this video helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel to help spread the video and potentially help even more casual players. Now without further ado, let's see how we can counter Raiden. Raiden isn't as 50-50 as Smoke, but he does have some annoying strings that can be hard to get around, especially when grabs are mixed in with them. So in this video, I'll go over Raiden's main strings used online, as well as mix-ups they tend to use, punishable strings along with gaps in them to poke out of, and lastly, Raiden cameo setups and playstyles that I mainly see online. Here are the buttons and terms I will be referring to help you follow along with the video. Let's start with Raiden's forward 4-3 string. This string is a double low and is what most Raidens use to try and get their combo started. This move is not punishable with anything, so after this move is thrown out, there are a few options for you to take your turn back depending on how your opponent has been playing. If they don't finish this string, you could take your turn back as long as the move you take your turn back with is faster than their down 1. For example, Johnny's 4-3, which is a 9-frame mid, comes out faster than Raiden's down 1, so even if he didn't poke out of it, I have a guaranteed turn. But one thing Raidens are starting to do now is EX down back 3 after this string to get a bunch of chip damage, and this will kind of chip in to playstyles a little bit. Raidens will spam this move with Cyrax until your health bar is gone. They won't even worry about comboing you. They will run away, come back to you when a cameo is available, and chip you to death. But for Raidens that do not call their cameo after this down back 3 EX version, it is punishable for some characters, and the unenhanced version is punishable for all characters. And lastly, we have the full version of the string forward 4-3-4, which gives Raiden's a backdash option to whiff punish you if you try to attack after. But since a lot of moves can catch Raiden as he backdashes, it is very unlikely that it will happen. But before we get into the other main strings, here are a couple of options with other characters and playing off of this one. The next string we'll get into is 2-4-2. Although the full string is 2-4-2-1, it is not used often because it is punishable. So what Raidens like to do with this string is apply pressure, staggering 2, then 2-4, then maybe into a grab or another 2-4. You would have to see how they're mixing it up and find an opening to take your turn back, starting with a poke. Once you poke out of pressure and get a hit, you could backdash and try to get a whiff punish. You could take your turn back and start your own pressure, or you could grab out of it because after connecting a down 1, people are most likely to block after. And once you condition them with that grab, they'll start ducking, and that'll basically be a free combo for you if you have an overhead or mid combo starter, or even a low combo starter. Keep in mind that you can duck the first hit, so if they are spamming this move back to back, you can definitely micro duck and punish it. And if they try to add the forward 4-3 low string into the mix, it is very much reactable, so poke out of it before they even start the move. You should always be ready to take your turn back. Don't accept all the pressure and chip unless they're using the forward 4-3 string into EX down back 3 with Cyrax or Jack's cameo. Speaking of EX down back 3, also be wary of that coming after this 2-4-2 string as well. And remember that the unenhanced version of this move is punishable for all characters, and the EX version is punishable for only some. Before we move on, there is a way to lower the chip damage from Raiden's EX down back 3 into Cyrax, and that is flawless blocking the end of Raiden's down back 3 move before Cyrax hits you. One thing about this game that is different from 11 is that flawless blocks negate all damage that comes after. So after flawless blocking the end of Raiden's down back 3, all of Cyrax hits do 0 damage. So if you can get that flawless block, it'll help you avoid that additional chip damage. Moving on to the third main string out of the 4, Raiden's 4-3-4, which ends in an overhead. This move is also usually used in a mix with grabs and can be poked out of much easier than the other strings. This move can't be punished if up blocked since the overhead is 2 consecutive hits, so poking out of this string is most likely your best option because it will potentially interrupt anything that comes after and get you your turn back. For our last main string that Raidens use, we have forward 1-2-3, which can also be W mixed with grabs and into EX down back 3. Raiden's mainly only use the first 2 hits of this string forward 1-2 because they can cancel into specials. And the 2 main specials that they really cancel it into is, again, EX down back 3 and Raiden's teleport. Speaking of Raiden's teleport, it can be countered if you see it or expect it coming. So if you can get there before the animation of the teleport ends, it'll count as a counter and give you a big combo opportunity. Now, back to the forward 1-2-3 string. If for some reason they finish this string, know that the last kick can be ducked under and punished. It can also be poked out of. But if you can't seem to react fast enough to it, know that this move is plus on block and it allows them to take another turn. This move is least likely to be thrown out, but if it is, take your opportunity. The best time I would say to poke out of this string is after forward 1-2 to check them and potentially interrupt anything that comes after and take your turn back. Or if they've been grabbing after the string or finishing it a lot, ducking would be perfect. And again, Raidens love their double low forward 4-3 string, so they might just throw it in there a little bit. So make sure you poke out of that mix before that string even gets to you. So those are the main strings, but there are still a few moves that Raidens use depending on the situation. And the first one I'm going to go over is back 2, which is Raiden's only overhead starter. Raidens mainly do this move when you are waking up to try to condition you to stand block so they can get their low combo starter going. So on wake up, if you aren't able to tell if they're going to throw this overhead or their low string, duck blocking will put you at a lower risk rather than stand blocking because they can combo off of their low string instead of the overhead. So if you're facing a Raiden that's doing that overhead on wake up, it's a 50-50 decision on that. And you can always use your armor move to get out of this situation if you really can't tell. But just keep in mind that if they do block your armor move on wake up, you will be punished. On hit, this move does 4 strikes, but on block, it only does 1 and can be punished with a down 1. And when you punish someone with the down 1, it is your turn, so take advantage of the hit advantage and apply some pressure. In the corner, Raiden's overhead can be comboed with the Cyrex Cameo, but it is really hard to time, so you really won't see it at all, but it is something to know. Keep in mind that some characters can easily armor out of pressure like Geras and Kung Lao to steal a turn, but for Raiden, his armor move is reactable, punishable, and resets you to default position when mid-screen. And that armor move is his back forward 3 electric fly, which can be done on the ground and in the air. Many characters have armor moves they can do on wake up to avoid pressure like I mentioned you could do before, and this is Raiden's. On block, this armor move is punishable with some characters, so you have to dash forward before attacking. For when Raidens use this move, it really is used randomly or to run away, which is what we'll get into later with playstyles. Just be wary of this move randomly coming out whenever on wake up or from full screen. Next, we have Raiden's 3-4, and this move is simply used to anti-air. So if you jump against Raidens, you'll mostly see this move come out and most likely get comboed for 50+% if you get hit. But if they use this string for pressure, it cannot be cancelled in the special, so you are able to take your turn back after. Some also use down back 3 as an anti-air, so be careful of that too. And finally, to end Raiden's strings, we have his projectile, down forward 1. The uncharged version of this move throws out a single projectile which can be ducked under, but the charged version really can't be avoided, so I would say if they're charging it, just try to attack them before it releases, or block it and be ready if another one follows. As Johnny, I can simply use Shadow Cake to counter it every time, so it is different for every character. So here are some options with other characters in dealing with this projectile. Now for the cameos and playstyles. The main cameos I've seen paired with Raidens are Sabrina, Jax, Cyrex, Kung Lao, and Sub-Zero. Depending on their cameo, this is most likely how they will use them against you. First, we'll start with Serena, which is what everyone uses to try to catch their opponent lacking in the neutral. Serena is also used to start combos, extend them, and even get chip damage. Serena's knives can be ducked under, and they also bail out the user if you try to hit them before they come back. So I would say if you're close enough when you duck them, try to throw in a poke or a low to get some damage off before they come back. Raidens, as well as many other Serena users, throw this move out at the beginning of the game when they are backpedaling and when your health is low. So just be ready to neutral duck Serena's knives in those situations. Next, we have Jax, which is what Raidens mainly use to get those 50% bombos. Another thing they use them for is to get that cheesy overhead low mix. I don't face many Raidens that do this, but I did face one Liu Kang that spammed the mess out of this, and they did it on wake up. So if you're stuck and can't back out of it or hit Jax, the best option I would say in that situation is to block low and accept Jax's hit to avoid additional damage from the overhead, or try to delay wake up to maybe mess up their timing. If they do this move and it's not on wake up, you're like in the corner or mid screen, I would say a couple escape options would be to air Raiden or to hit Jax. And I know some characters have a few moves to get out of this and hit Jax. Sub-Zero has his eye slide, Scorpion has his little dash, Asura has your little dash, and Johnny has a shadow kick. A bunch of characters have many escape routes for this. If you get hit by Jax's ground pound in the first strike, he just goes away. But if you get hit by an overhead or interrupt him in the air where Jax misses you, he does up to 3 consecutive strikes, so just be wary of that. Now we have Cyrax, who is considered the best cameo in the game when it comes to getting chip damage. There's really not much to say on Cyrax and Raiden. When I see this duo, the only thing coming from it is chip damage. Massive chip damage. Raidens will do their little mix strings, and when their cameo is available, they'll push you and do their massive chip string. Some will even run away until cameo is available and only move in to get their chip damage and leave again. So since Cyrax doesn't really add combo extensions for Raiden, you might need to chase them around. But if they aren't the running type, then they're probably the mix-up type, so poke out of the mix, apply a lot of pressure so that they can't even get a chance to chip you to death. And also another type of Raiden is the one that sits still, waiting for you to either whiff or move in, and then spam you with lows to keep you away. For those types of players, just try and bait out a move from them by moving back and forth, and then when they whiff, that is your chance to move in between the gaps. For the next cameo, we have Kung Lao. When anyone has Kung Lao, they will either spam the low hat and a projectile, or they will use their low hat after a string to potentially get them another turn. And the low hat makes their strings plus on block, so on most occasions you won't be able to poke out of pressure after it. And for the last main cameo, we had Sub-Zero. Similar to Kung Lao, Raidens will use Sub-Zero's barge after strings, but instead of making them plus on block, it does pushback. Basically a "oh, I couldn't open you up, so eat this and back up off of me" kind of thing. Also, if you don't know by now, Sub-Zero can also apply Ice Shield to their partner, making projectiles against Raiden useless. Keep in mind that Sub-Zero's Ice Shield is a perfect counter for Serena's projectiles. It completely negates him and allows you to get in and punish while they're vulnerable. Another thing Raidens use Sub-Zero for is the same reason Kenshis use Frost. Whenever they get a hit confirm on anything, they call out Sub and he freezes you, allowing Raiden to start a new string that'll most likely end in a big combo with big damage. So I would say try and block out of the strings that Raiden tries to open you up with, and eventually they will call out Sub to freeze, thinking they opened you up, and it'll be a free punish for you. One more cameo I want to mention is Scorpion, which his only mix is the overhead. Try looking at your opponent while they are pressuring you. They'll most likely call Scorpion after a low string to mix it with his overhead. You can see Scorpion running out, so when you expect it, it becomes much easier to counter, and it is also punishable if successfully blocked. Another string that Raidens may use with the Scorpion overhead is the 4-2-2-4 string, which I haven't shown yet, but this string ends in a low and can be cancelled into specials, but if not cancelled into specials, it can be punished with a down 1, allowing you to take your turn back. So to sum up, similar to Smoke, blocking low against Raiden will be best. His overhead isn't as reactable as Smoke's, but it can't lead to combos. On wake up, to avoid getting caught in a combo, block low, delay wake up, or armor out, which is basically performing your armored special on wake up. During Raiden's pressure, look for gaps and take advantage of them, and remember the punishable strings and moves. 2-4-2-1, 4-2-1, forward 1-2-3 after ducking the last hit, back forward 3, down forward 2, and down back 3. Play your game against these Raidens with these tips in mind, and hopefully it helps you out. That'll be all for Raiden. We did a lot more for Raiden than we did with Smoke, adding the cameos in and everything. So let me know in future vids if you would like me to shorten the guides for just the characters and leave the cameos out, or just keep it as it is now. Also, let us know if I left anything out for Raiden. But anyways, for all those who are new and struggling online, if this video helped you out, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. And once again, thank you for all of these subs and comments. I will for sure keep these guides coming. Let me know who you want to see next. There has to be a counter for them, if anything. So with that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.